Lin Xia stood behind the heavy oak doors, her fingers trembling as she adjusted the delicate lace of her white veil. Like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more storytelling videos. Today was supposed to be the day her life began. For 5 years, she had stood by Lu Feng, helping him build his tech empire from a garage to a skyscraper. She had sacrificed her inheritance, her time, and her health. As the music started, a haunting violin rendition of Perfect, the doors swung open. But the gasps that met her weren't of admiration. They were of horror. Xia looked at the altar. There stood Lu Feng, but he wasn't alone. Dressed in a matching bridal gown was Xia's cousin Lin Mei. I, Lu Feng, take you, Lin Mei, to be my wife. The words cut through the air like a serrated blade. Xia's father, the man who had promised to protect her, was smiling as he joined their hands. The betrayal was absolute. Her family had traded her for a more advantageous alliance with the Lu Corporation, using Mei as the pawn to keep the money in a tighter circle. Xia didn't scream. She didn't cry. She walked down the aisle, her white heels clicking rhythmically against the marble, a ghostly figure at her own funeral. The wedding isn't over, Xia said, her voice cold and clear. Because the bride hasn't arrived at the altar yet. Lu Feng turned, his eyes devoid of guilt. Xia, go home. The board decided Mei is a better fit for the image of the company. You're too fragile. Mei smirked, leaning into Lu Feng's arm. Sister, don't make a scene. We've already signed the papers. You're just a guest now. High in the VIP balcony, obscured by the velvet curtains, sat a man whose presence felt like a localized winter. Han-neul. To the world, he was a venture capitalist from Seoul. To the underworld, he was the Dragon of Busan, the head of a Korean syndicate that controlled the shipping lanes across the East China Sea. He watched Xia. He didn't see a fragile woman. He saw a wolf being cornered by rats. Sir, his assistant whispered, the contract with the Lu family is ready. We just need to sign. Han-neul watched Xia rip her veil off, throwing it into a puddle of spilled champagne. Cancel it, he said, his voice a low rumble. I don't do business with men who can't keep a vow. I want the girl instead. The rain had soaked Xia to the bone. She stood at the edge of the water, her silk dress heavy and gray. She had nothing. Her bank accounts were frozen by her father. Her home was legally under the company's name. A black sedan pulled up, its headlights cutting through the fog. A tall man stepped out, an umbrella held over his head by a silent subordinate. In Chinese dramas, the heroine usually jumps, Han-neul said, stepping into the light. His Korean accent gave his Mandarin a sharp, dangerous edge. In my world, we prefer to make the other people jump. Xia turned, her eyes burning with a fire that surprised him. Who are you? The man who is supposed to fund your fiancé's future, Han-neul replied. But I find I've lost interest in his future. I'm more interested in your revenge. He stepped closer, the umbrella now shielding both of them. You have the codes to the Lu Corporation's main server. You have the ledgers your father hid. You have the truth. I have the power to make that truth hurt. What's the price? Xia asked. Be my lady, he said. The world thinks I am here to marry into a Chinese family for a port merger. If I return alone, my rivals see weakness. If I return with a bride who has the power to dismantle the Lu Empire, I return as a king. A fake marriage? A strategic alliance, Han-neul corrected. I will give you the world as your chessboard. You just have to promise not to fall in love with the devil. Xia looked back at the city skyline, where the Lu Corporation logo glowed in neon. She reached out and took his hand. His skin was cold, but his grip was like iron. I don't believe in love anymore, she said. But I believe in fire. The Lu family and the newlyweds were celebrating. They thought they had won. They had successfully absorbed Xia's shares and were preparing to go public. The double doors opened. Lin Xia entered, but the girl in the white lace was gone. She wore a floor-length, backless gown of midnight velvet. Around her neck was the tear of the sea, a diamond that cost more than the Lu family's headquarters. Behind her walked Han-neul, his hand possessively on the small of her back. The room went silent. The Korean Mafia boss wasn't just a rumor anymore. His presence felt like a physical weight. Lu Feng stepped forward, his face pale. Xia? What is this? You disappeared. I didn't disappear, Feng, Xia said, her voice amplified by the silent room. I upgraded. Han-neul smiled, a terrifyingly beautiful expression. Mr. Liu, I believe you owe my wife an apology. And a few $1 billion in embezzled assets. The night dissolved into chaos. With a single signal from Han-neul, the screens in the ballroom shifted from promotional videos to the Liu family's private ledgers, leaked by Xia. The police, tipped off by Han-neul's associates, were already at the doors. As Lu Feng was led away in handcuffs, he looked at Xia, begging for mercy. Xia leaned in, whispering so only he could hear. You told me I was too fragile. I just wanted to show you that even glass, when broken, can cut deeper than a sword. She turned away, walking toward the exit. Han-neul waited for her, holding the door of the car. The revenge is done, he said as they drove into the night. Do you want to go back to your quiet life? Xia looked at her reflection in the window, powerful, wealthy, and feared. She looked at the man beside her, the monster who had given her his strength. No, she said, a small, dark smile playing on her lips. I think I'm just getting started. The silence between Lin Xia and Kang Han-neul was no longer awkward. It was charged. Xia looked down at the Tear of the Sea necklace, the diamond reflecting the moonlight. She was no longer the girl who cried in the rain at a Shanghai pier. She was a woman who had just dismantled a $1 billion empire before dessert was served. You handled the gala well, Han-neul said, swirling a glass of dark whiskey. But the Liu family was just a nest of rats. Now, the lions are waking up. You mean your family, Xia replied, turning her gaze from the window to his sharp profile. Han-neul set his glass down. My father, the chairman, doesn't believe in strategic alliances. In his eyes, if I didn't marry a woman of pure Korean bloodline from a rival syndicate, I've committed treason. He has called an emergency meeting of the 5 dragons in Busan. They want to see the woman who made the dragon of Busan break a decade of tradition. Xia felt a chill, but she didn't show it. Then we give them a show they'll never forget. When the jet landed, a fleet of 12 black SUVs was waiting. The men guarding them didn't bow like corporate employees. They stood with the rigid, terrifying discipline of soldiers. As Xia stepped onto the tarmac, Han-neul did something he had never done. He offered her his arm, not as a prop, but as an equal. In that room, he whispered, they will try to bait you. They will bring up your past. They will call you a discarded bride. If you flinch, we both lose. Let them try, Xia said, her eyes turning into flint. The elders sat on floor mats around a low table. At the head was Kang Dae-young, Han-neul's father, a man whose face looked like it was carved from granite. You bring a stranger into our house, the chairman said, his voice like grinding stones. A woman who was rejected by a mere businessman in Shanghai. Do you think the Kang bloodline is a trash bin for China's leftovers? The room went cold. Han-neul's hand tightened on his knee, but before he could speak, Xia stepped forward. She didn't wait for permission to sit. She took a seat directly across from the chairman, defying every rule of etiquette. Trash bin. Xia laughed, a soft, dangerous sound. Chairman Kang, your son didn't pick up a leftover. He acquired the person who holds the digital keys to every shipping manifest in the East China Sea. While you were focused on bloodlines, I was busy rerouting the Liu Corporation's hidden logistics into your son's private accounts. She tossed a slim black flash drive onto the table. That drive contains the offshore banking details of the men sitting to your left and right, Xia continued, glancing at the other dragon leaders. They've been skimming 15% off your Busan exports for 3 years. If I'm trash, then your inner circle is a graveyard. The room erupted. One of the elders reached for a hidden blade, but in a flash, Han-neul had a suppressed pistol pressed against the man's temple. Seat. Down, Han-neul commanded. The chairman looked at the flash drive, then at Xia. For the first time, a glimmer of respect, or perhaps fear, appeared in his eyes. You have a sharp tongue, girl. I have a sharp mind, Xia corrected. And your son has the muscle to back it up. Together, we aren't a scandal. We are an empire. The meeting had ended in a bloodless coup. With Xia's data, Han-neul had purged the disloyal elders and solidified his position as the undisputed heir. Xia stood at the railing, the wind whipping her hair. She felt a presence behind her. Han-neul stepped close, his warmth radiating through the cool night air. He didn't stay at a distance this time. He wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. You took a huge risk today, he muttered into her ear. If I hadn't been fast enough, that elder would have killed you. I knew you were fast enough, she said, leaning her head back against his shoulder. That was the deal, wasn't it? I provide the brain, you provide the shield. Han-neul turned her around in his arms. The coldness that usually defined him had melted into something far more intense. The deal is changing, Xia. I don't want a partner. I want a queen. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring, not a delicate diamond, but a heavy platinum band set with a rare black opal. The lady roll was fake. This is not. Xia looked at the ring, then up at the man who had seen her at her lowest and helped her climb to the highest peak. Is this the part where the Chinese drama ends with a kiss? She teased, though her breath hitched. No, Han-neul said, his voice dropping to a seductive growl. This is the part where the Korean Mafia movie begins. As he leaned in, the screen fades to black, leaving only the sound of the crashing waves below and the distant sirens of a city that now belonged to them. Like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more storytelling videos.